Welcome to Wild Bearings Outdoors. I'm Sam Johnson.
And I'm Chris Sloan.
We're your hosts for Wild Bearings Outdoors, where each episode we'll take you to a wild and exotic location where the scenery's incredible, the history's interesting, and the fishing's amazing.
In this episode, we're headed into the Great Smoky Mountain National Park in North Carolina. It's an understatement to say the park's loaded with amazing scenery and history, but it's also renowned for hundreds of miles of rivers and streams that are home to the rainbow, brown, and of course the darling trout of the Appalachians, the beautiful and evasive brook trout.
We'll set up base camp in the Bradley Fork watershed, the first large tributary of the famous Oconaluftee River.
Then we'll hike up Bradley Fork to one of its more notable tributaries, Chastain Creek, a creek known for its series of beautiful cascades and a population of native brook trout.
And along the way, we'll explore some of the watershed's rich history, such as the huge lumber mill, the settlers, grist mills, the Civilian Conservation Corps camp, and of course, the Cherokee Indian Reservation. So come along with Chris and I on this episode of Wild Bearings Outdoors as we visit the Bradley Fork watershed, one of the great treasures of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park.
So we ended up here at Smokemont, made it. I got here before Sam did. We'll wait on those guys to get here and then figure out what we do next.
Bradley Fork, Chris, is really the first major tributary of the Oconaluftee River. After it comes off the top of the Smokies and comes down, it's a huge watershed with a lot of really good tributaries like Chastain Creek, which we're going to fish today, by the way, Tennessee, Louis Camp, Bear Wallow, all the way up to the headwaters that come really almost right off the Appalachian Trail. The really interesting thing about the Bradley Fork is where it comes into the Oconaluftee. There was a massive sawmill there in the early part of the last century. So there's just a lot of history. The Native Americans were here first, and they're still here, you know, in Cherokee and the Qualla Indian Reservation that's here. And so it's sitting right at the edge of that. And the Bradley Fork is just a great place to base camp out of, and then head up and fish the tributaries, which is where we're going to be going today.
We may be in for a couple of days of
tough fishing.
Tough fishing, because I mean, look, we're not fishing DH, we're not fishing a tailwater here. I mean, we got to go chase.
Well, but the great thing is this: the old saying, "Trout don't live in ugly places," and whether we catch any trout or not, we're going to be in some beautiful places.
We are.
And we'll enjoy it either way. We're going to go up to an obscure little stream. In fact, this is the largest tributary coming into the Bradley Fork, and it's called Chastain Creek. Now, it's known as, although there are rainbows on there, it's known in the upper region of it as being a really good brook trout fishery around an area called Chastain Cascades, which is just a souped up word for a waterfall that kind of slides down the rocks. It doesn't fall vertically, but there are pools under it and on top of it that we're going to go up and fish. I don't know what it's going to be like, but we're going to go up here and chase these trout on this little stream.
And it's not going to be a bad hike, right?
Well, you know,
Wait
it's
a
about a
minute.
5 or 6% grade.
Why did
for
you stop?
A mile or so.
What are we in?
Well, you got your hiking boots on. So.
No, we're going to be wading gear, not hiking boots.
Hey, look, you know, we'll get there, and it's not a hard hike.
Sam's 3% is actually 10% grade, so you got to watch him.
I was never good at math. But anyway, we're gonna limber our rods up and get ready to head out and chase these little trout.
Sounds good. It'll be
All
fun.
right, let's do it.
All right, so I put this together for you so we can go through. So on this water, given that we've had some rain, you're probably going to want your point fly, your first fly, you're going to want to get down pretty quick if you nymph fish. Now, if we're going to dry drop, then you can put on an Adams.
I'm probably gonna dry drop to start with.
Okay, then I'd put on a big Adams.
Little parachute looking, or
Yeah.
or that's
Yeah,
little parachute
put on
Adams.
with that post,
Okay.
or even a stemmy. Okay, something you can see.
Well, these wild fish up there really like these.
They like those
stimulators.
stimulators.
Just a buggy looking bug.
Yeah. The other thing is you can drop. I would say drop a BWO. We got cloud cover today, and there's been rain. So either a BWO to start. Now, if you go nymph, then I would, and I think if we get into some deeper runs, then I'd go with that case caddis. That's a case caddis, and then I'd drop a Perdigon or something like that, maybe even a BWO off of it. Let's get geared up and ready to roll.
Do you see these other falls here? Look at those pools down there, man. There's the trail. There's a trail that comes down from right up there. Look at the pool. All those little brook trout are down there looking up here at you, just laughing at you.
We've passed 2.5 miles of pools.
Not like that.
Yeah, just like that. Oh my gosh.
Okay, we're about here. A partner-led enterprise. We're gonna vote on, do we just going up a little further, or do we turn around and go fish below?
You're nuts.
Do we push further into the wilderness like Lewis and Clark and be men?
He's throwing down on the man card. All right, let's go.
We finally got to Chastain and got set up to fish. I decided to stay at the base of the falls and try to entice some of those little brook trout out of that pool, while Chris was in another pool. As hard as we tried, we just could not find the trout. They were hiding. Having no luck at the base of the falls, I decided to go to the top and chase trout. After not having much luck, Chris and I decided to head back down to the main flow of the Bradley Fork.
What you really want to try to do to get a natural, you want to be kind of parallel. If I'm parallel, then I'm not getting any drag, and I'm getting more of a natural, and then I can put a little mend in it if I need to.
If there's a trout in the creek, Chris will find him. We're here in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and what a unique place this is, Chris. I mean,
love it.
It's over 800 square miles of wilderness, pretty much like it was in the very beginning. That's over 512,000 acres. There are more tree species in this park than all of Northern Europe.
Really?
I mean, what a huge biosphere this is.
Yeah.
Northern Europe is 1,000 times larger than this park, yet there are more species of trees here.
The wildlife's amazing. Talk a little bit about that. I saw the elk coming in.
Right, there's, you know, elk were indigenous to this area, you know, when the Native Americans were dominant here and the white men moved in, there were a lot of elk, killed them all off. Well, they replanted them years ago. Literally, you're driving up the road here or coming through Cherokee, North Carolina, and you got to stop for a herd of elk that are standing there. And they're you know, bull elk with massive racks, cows, everything all around you. It's a pretty special place. There's tons of black bear, especially in a campground like this. You got to keep your food put up, preferably on a trapeze. But you know, there's fox here. There are huge amounts of deer, turkey, and of course fish.
Yeah.
You know, the great thing about the Smokies is that there's over 2,100 miles of streams in that 800 square mile section, and of those, 750 miles have trout.
Yeah.
Which is good for people like us that love to chase them. So in 1976, they actually designated the Great Smoky Mountain National Park as an international biosphere reserve.
What is a biosphere?
Well, biosphere is a section of land that is very special, both in the flora and fauna that it supports. And typically it means that it is supporting more than anything else around it.
And the Blue Ridge Parkway starts right here, the North Carolina section?
The southern end, mile 469, ends just a few miles down the road here on 441 as it crosses the Oconaluftee River. Yeah. And so the Great Smoky Mountains are split right down the middle by Tennessee and North Carolina. The Blue Ridge Parkway terminates here, and it's just got a lot of great rivers and streams and everything in it. You know, if you're looking for a great place to hang out, fish for a day, camp for a week, and fish for a week, this is a great base camp to start from, is this Smokemont Campground.
All right, we made it through the night. It's about 38 degrees, cold. Dave, did you get cold?
Actually, I was pretty warm all night.
There's Pepe Le Pew. He's doing good this morning. I got
my rat stove
in his 1920s Coleman. We're gonna get some coffee brewed up here and get some breakfast going pretty soon, and it's cold.
I knew he'd be in there. Yeah. You can't get a better run than that.
All right, I'm gonna check on the bottom of this rock and see what these fish are eating. Well, there's a stonefly right there. I think I'll just tie one on and see what happens. This area that the campground is in right now originally obviously was occupied by the Cherokees, and then some settlers came in by the name of Bradleys, and they created a little settlement here called Bradleytown. Mostly their family and a few kin and people like that. And then back in the early 30s, Champion Fiber Pulp and Wood Company bought this area. And they set up a sawmill operation here that covered this entire valley here.
We saw some of those rails up yesterday.
Yeah.
The old rail beds.
The old rail beds that came up through here. And they had a massive sawmill here that was sawing lumber and shipping it all over the country. And the pulp wood that they would cut would go down to Canton, North Carolina, about 25 or 30 miles away, to feed the paper mill down there. That was a fine paper mill. And at that time, even in the 1930s, Chris, it was the largest paper mill of its kind in the free world.
Wow.
Who would have thought? Here in Western Carolina. And the sawmill was set up to saw about 45,000 board feet of lumber a day. Now get this, a board foot is 12 inches wide, 12 inches long. That means that they could have sawed a board that would have been 8.5 miles long.
Wow.
Every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They were sawing lumber, loading it on a rail bed that ran through here and all up in the mountains, and would haul it out, and it'd go all over the country for people to build.
Was this a campground then, or what was this?
No, this was the sawmill.
This was a sawmill.
It was a little city right here. About 1931, I believe, or 32, Champion Fiber Company sold this entire watershed, the Bradley watershed, to the Department of Interior to be added into the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, which they were buying up parcels all over this area.
Wow.
When the National Park Service bought 90,000 acres, Champion Fiber pulled their operations out of here, but they left a lot of stuff. The Park Service came in and dismantled everything, sold everything, moved buildings out, and there's almost no evidence that there was ever such a vibrant enterprise going on in this valley. When you look at this campground, it's all second growth timber now. The only building left is a Baptist church on the other side of the ridge right here, about a mile from here, called Lufty Baptist Church. And it's still, when you pull into this campground, it's the big white building right up on the right as you turn
Lufty
parallel.
for the Conalufty.
The Conalufty River that it's sitting on. When you're here camping, you're in a very historic area, not just because it's in the Smoky Mountains, but because this was a huge enterprise that you would have been in the middle of that dates all the way back to the Bradley family that came here and settled this area. I'm gonna fish that run right up the middle to that first little break up there. And then maybe go to the next one, and then I'll step out and let Chris take over.
Well, you got a soft tackle. That's a, here, what is this? Yeah, that's a shaggy beadhead hare's ear.
Yeah.
You're good.
That's about as fishy a damn run as you could ever have right there. There's not a lot of holding areas here for the trout, especially with this much water in here. That run over there under the logs and then against the bank over here are two places, but generally this area out in front of us here would be hard for a trout to hold in there without expending an awful lot of energy. It's hard to find the trout in here right now. That is as pretty a run as you'll see anywhere right out there. Just a perfect run for trout to hold in concentrates the food. You know, they say that trout don't live in ugly places. Well, they really don't. But I can tell you today, the beautiful place they're living in, they're hiding. We can't find them. So really the only saving grace of the day for us humans is that we're in a very, very beautiful part of the country and really enjoying it anyway, whether I'm catching any fish or not. You know, Chris, I really enjoyed visiting the Bradley Fork watershed up in the Smokies, especially Chastain Creek with the great water that it has. A beautiful place to visit. There's so much history up there, and the scenery is just unsurpassed in the eastern half of the United States. But I got to tell you, you and I know how to fish, and we couldn't find the fish.
It was a tough couple of days. Not what we experience. I mean, typically it's nothing for us to go up and catch 15, 20 fish. Get a grand. I've been up there and gotten 2 grand slams in a day. Yeah. So.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do the time of year. Of course, it's February. It was cold.
A lot of water.
We'd had a lot of rain.
Still raining.
I got to tell you, I still think Tropical Storm Fred, which was 2 years ago, is still having some effect on the fish populations that are in those streams. But, you know, one thing's for sure, we'll get them next time. And speaking of next time, join us when country music artist Chad Brock, the singer of the #1 song, Yes, joins us as we visit the Sequoia River trophy waters in the mountains of northeast Georgia. So on behalf of Wild Bearings Outdoors, I'm Sam Johnson.
And I'm Chris Sloan.
Join us next time, and in the meantime, we'll look forward to seeing you somewhere in the great outdoors.